Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host, Nathan P. Butler, and finally we're back with some new episodes here. I know it's been a little bit crazy lately with me finishing up the final edition of the Star Wars Timeline Gold, which is now out. It is done. That project has wrapped, so to speak, after 20 plus years. And basically getting into the new school year. All things that suck up a lot of time. Not to mention the fact, of course, that Baby Cade is due basically any day now. Full term was last Friday at 37 weeks, so we're kind of sitting around like, okay, when's it gonna happen? You know, bag ready to go, ready to recreate all those movie scenes of rushing in the car to the hospital. So I figured, while I've got the time, I'll record sort of a set of new episodes, a few here, hence seeing that Batman shirt over and over again in the next few episodes here, so I can get a few more out as we are waiting on the eventual release of Solo: A Star Wars Story in September, a little over a month from when I'm recording this on August 21st of 2018. This time, we take a look at an item that comes from the UK, and it was something that was sent to me by one of the longtime supporters of the show, Julian Smith. Julian, of course, lives in the UK. He's helped to provide certain UK releases in the past, or helped me hunt down certain UK releases in the past. And this time, along with other stuff that he had sent, actually a while back, he sent something I hadn't had a chance to actually take a look at on the show in a while. It was actually something that helped prompt me to eventually get a multi-region DVD player. And that is a pair of Star Wars DVDs from the UK known as Heroes and Villains, which were pack-ins with newspapers, very much like a Total Movie Magazine had that pack-in DVD that had an official release, basically, of the fan film Troops in it, parody Troops. In this case, this actually was through Lucasfilm, so this is an official release, but something only available outside of the US. I believe it was the UK and Australia that both got copies of these, but the US never saw anything quite like it, though we'll find that at least some of the content is stuff we could have found over here otherwise. So, it's early 2005, hype is building up for Revenge of the Sith, and a Saturday edition of The Sun in the UK comes out with a big front page that says free Star Wars double DVD inside, though not really a double DVD, a single DVD that would be double if you picked up another newspaper on Sunday the next day. It said exclusive, not available in the stores, not in stores, but in the stores. What can I say? UK phrasing. And that item was this. Okay. You had this little cardboard sleeve that does open, provided with one DVD in the Saturday version of The Sun. And then the following day, you had another newspaper, News of the World, that Sunday, that noted, again, free DVD inside, and gave you Villains. So Heroes on Saturday, Villains on Sunday. And I love the way the marketing referred to this. It was, you'd be Darth not to buy this paper. I'm guessing it's like a play on Daft, but it doesn't carry over well to the US because we don't tend to use Daft. But we have our initial packaging here. I do not have the packaging for the Sunday edition. This is the Saturday edition here for The Sun. But it says, The Sun, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, News of the World, right, Saturday and Sunday papers, Collector's Edition DVD, Star Wars, you got Vader, and then you got the droids. It says Heroes and Villains. It is an and. You can just barely make out the ampersand in between them. On the back, essentially making sure that you get the next disc, says, don't miss Star Wars Villains DVD with tomorrow's News of the World. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, in cinemas May 19. Then your rating, PG, DVD symbol. This is Region 2. But it doesn't say so on here. www.starwars.com, Lucasfilm logo, 20th Century Fox logo, legalese down at the bottom. There is a teeny tiny spine that just says Star Wars Heroes and Villains. When you open it, you have your information there for either side, with the Villains one again saying, get your Star Wars Villains DVD with tomorrow's News of the World, reminding you that you don't have both yet. The first side says Star Wars Heroes, a fresh look at the most heroic characters from the biggest film series of all time, including faces from the forthcoming Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, introduced by Anthony Daniels, C-3PO, who knows them all personally. And then the other side The villain side says, infamous aliens, treacherous bounty hunters, and the masters of the dark side of the Force. They're all here in this special program to celebrate the release of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, introduced by Anthony Daniels, C-3PO. The actual discs, here's the first one. Star Wars Heroes. You have your rating DVD symbol in the sun over there on the left. Right-hand side, Lucasfilm logo, 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment logo, legalese and whatnot. Then Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith at the bottom, and the web address, but sort of a red-on-white heroic look. And then Villains goes with red-on-black. Star Wars Villains, same setup basically, except it has News of the World, because that's the one that this came with. Now, as far as content goes on each disc, it varied, but there was a pattern to it, really. So the first thing on there was the aforementioned Heroes or Villains, or what do you call that? The namesake Heroes or Villains? The titular! There you go. Heroes or Villains, but not sure I want to use the word titular, because I'm sure there are some people out there in the audience that don't know what that means. They're like, titular! He said it's smutty! No, it's not. It's just, it's the title. But you have a Heroes feature, where Anthony Daniels talks about the different heroes of Star Wars. And then on the Villains disc, it's a Villains feature, where Anthony Daniels is talking about, and they're showing clips and all, of the villains of Star Wars. Although I find it very interesting, given the fact that this is 2005. Revenge of the Sith is hitting theaters, right? The last of the prequel films. You go back to The Phantom Menace, and they sort of kept Sidious and Palpatine separate on screen, with Sidious really only showing up in hologram, which would allow you to maybe not realize they're the same person, except for that lingering image at the end where, like, which was the story master or the apprentice, you know, and it shows Palpatine up close. And then, of course, in Episode 2, we actually get to see Sidious in his cloak, hear his voice in person at the end, and we can put that with all we know of Palpatine, right? I'm not sure how much we were actually meant, in any real respect, to actually question whether or not these were the same person. Though I remember back when the prequels were coming out, there were people saying, you know, well, are they really the same person? Is it possible that Sidious and Palpatine are clones of each other? There were different fan theories going around, but then they didn't make a big deal out of that reveal eventually. I mean, sort of. But by the time Anakin is confronting Sidious, you know, with the power to save his wife, we're all like, duh. It's only really Anakin who seems to have let this slip by him, and the Jedi. So it's kind of weird. In the way, then, that this Villains disc approaches things, because it approaches it from the sort of ignorant standpoint, the you haven't been paying attention standpoint, because it treats Palpatine, if you go between these discs, it treats Palpatine and Sidious as separate characters, not the same individual, which is kind of an interesting way of approaching it. A little weird, now in retrospect, of course, but given the time period, I guess it was somewhat appropriate. It just seems a little odd to me, right? I mean, very few people actually still had questions by the time we get to Revenge of the Sith as to whether or not Palpatine and Sidious were indeed the same character. But this helped sort of feed that, I suppose. Then each one is going to have a trailer for Revenge of the Sith. You have the teaser on Heroes, the trailer on Villains, and then you've got these little featurettes that actually show up, among other places, online and on the DVD release of Revenge of the Sith eventually. For the Heroes disc, it's This Weapon Is Your Life. And then the featurette on the Villains disc is Creating General Grievous. And then you have the paired featurettes that wound up, again, on StarWars.com and also on the DVD at the end of each. The first one is the one that has 2 worlds, 1 movie. And then the second one has 1 world, 2 movies. Right, where it has that juxtaposition of the two to talk about the creation of the process, or of actually linking the 2 different trilogies together within the movie and that sort of thing. So, in a sense, what you've got here is 1 out of 4 things on each of these discs is actually new, unique, only found here. And the other 3 things, which aren't very long in and of themselves, but the other 3 things you could get plenty of other places, including on the DVD releases. But if you want those quick little features on Heroes or Villains, for that, you're going to want to hunt down the Heroes and Villains discs from The Sun and News of the World in the UK from 2005. My thanks to Julian. I never thought I'd actually get my hands on this. I hadn't really spent a lot of time looking, but it was because of sort of feeling like, yeah, the chances of me finding this, given that I'm mostly searching a US market, that's going to be tough. I won't even think about it. And then all of a sudden, poof, this shows up in the mail. Julian, Thank you very much. So, we'll continue with more episodes here as part of this Blitz, as we see more of the Batman shirt. I'm not going to change shirts between videos, so for this episode, thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers.